All right. So let's see this particular question now. So in this question, we are given an array of time intervals, right? So if you see this particular input array for an example, you are given a set of different time intervals over here, right? And this is my starting time and this is my ending time, right? So basically I have a duration of time, I have a range of time, and the first element of every sub array inside this input array will be my starting time, and the second element will be my end time, right, of that particular interval. That is what is given in the input array, right? And now our task is to basically merge all the overlapping intervals into one and output the result, which should have only mutually exclusive intervals, right? So what this means is that if you see this particular example, for example, if you see this and this particular time interval, right, now the end time of this particular time interval is actually in the range of this particular time interval. Why? Because the end time of this particular time interval is actually greater than the starting time of this particular time interval, right? Hence, I can say that this particular time interval and this time interval are actually overlapping in nature, right? Because some of the timestamps in this particular time interval would also be present in this particular time interval. That's what we mean, right? And hence, these are overlapping, right? Similarly, if you see 2 and 4, this particular time interval and this particular time interval, even they are overlapping, right? Because if you see 4 is over here also and 4 is present here also, right? That means again 4 is common, and hence these are overlapping time interval, and now we need to merge all such common time intervals and just have one time interval which covers all the entire range, right? Whichever was present in all those common time intervals, right? So again, if you see this particular example itself, this particular time interval and this particular time interval, since we are saying they are overlapping, why? Again, because the ending time of this particular time interval is greater than the starting time of this particular time interval. So now, since they are overlapping, we can actually merge them, right? And how will we merge them? So the starting time will be the minimum of these two, right? The starting time of this one and starting time of this one, whichever is minimum, that will be the overall starting time of the new combined merged time interval, and the end time would be the maximum time among these two, right? The maximum ending time of this one or this one, right? That would be the final ending time of this merged time interval that I will get as a result of merging these two time intervals, right? And then once I have merged these two, I will also try to see if I can merge the resultant time interval with any other present time interval as well, right? So for example, if I merge these two, let me write it over here. If I merge first of all these two, what I will get is a time interval which will start from 1 and it will go till 5, right? So actually, if you see over here, this particular time interval will entirely get, submerged into this particular time interval, right? That's why we are getting this resultant time interval after merging same as this particular time interval, right? Now what I will do is, now I will check if I can merge this particular time interval with any other time interval as well, right? Basically this resultant time interval with any other present time interval as well. So if you see 4 and 6 and 1 and 5, again if you see, the ending time of this particular time interval is again greater than the starting time of this particular time interval, hence I can merge them, right? And how will I merge them? I will now have the starting time of the resultant time interval as the minimum of the starting time of this and this, right, which is 1 itself, and then the ending time would be maximum ending time of this or this, right? So that would be 6. So now my resultant time interval after merging all these three time intervals would be 1 and 6, right? Now again I will check if I can actually further merge this particular time interval with any other present time interval in this input array, right? So the only time interval which is left now is 7, 8. So now I will just check if I can merge this with this. Now if you see 6, which is the ending time of this particular time interval, is actually lesser than the starting time of this particular time interval. That means they are actually mutually exclusive. They are non-overlapping, right? There is no overlap between this particular time interval now and this particular time interval, right? And hence I will not merge them, right? And at the end, I will just return the all the remaining time intervals, right? So for example, 1 and 6 I got as a result of merging these three, and 7, 8 will remain as is, right? So this will be my output because that's what they are expecting in the output. If you see, the task is to merge all the overlapping intervals into one. That's what we did over here, and output the result, which should have only one, not one, but then have only mutually exclusive intervals, right? So all the intervals that we are now returning should be mutually exclusive, should be non-overlapping, right? And that's what we are getting over here. So I hope this question is pretty clear now. I just took this example and tried to explain this to you so that it is, absolutely clear. So I hope this is clear now. Now maybe you can just pause this video and try to think of a solution. How can you actually arrive at this particular solution? And when you are done, you can just come back and check the solution here. Okay, so now to solve this particular question, see, we have already seen the approach partially, right? So what we are doing is we are actually comparing the time intervals with each other in a way that we are checking that the ending time of the first interval is actually whether it is greater than the starting time of the second interval or not, right? And if it is greater, we are calling those two time intervals as overlapping. And if they are not, like it is not greater, the ending time of the first interval is not greater than the starting time of the second interval, then we are calling them as mutually exclusive, non-overlapping, right? So that's what we can actually do. But then before doing that, what we will have to do is we will have to sort this particular array based on the starting time of each of the time interval, right? And that way I can then iterate from the left to the right, right? And for every left time interval, I can just compare that time interval with the subsequent time interval, right? The next time interval to it, right? And when I say compare with it, the condition that I will be comparing on will be the same, that I will be checking if the ending time of the first time interval, the lesser time interval, which is like, earlier in the sequence, is actually greater than the starting time of the next time interval or not, right? That's the condition that I will be using to compare the time intervals one by one. But before actually doing that, I will just sort this particular array, right? So if I sort this particular array, I will just get, let me just write it over here. If I sort this, I will get, first of all, 1 comma 5, then I will get 2 comma 4, right? Then I will get 4 comma 6, and then I will get 7 comma 8, right? And why will I get this? Because I have sorted this particular array explicitly on the starting time of each of the time interval, right? That's how I'm going to sort this particular array, right? So that's what I'm doing over here. And now I can just keep iterating from the left to the right and keep comparing every time interval with its next time interval, right? And if they are overlapping, I can just merge them into one and then compare that merged time interval with the next time interval in the array, right? That's what I can keep doing. And at the end of the day, I will be remaining with only the mutually exclusive time intervals, right? First of all, if you see over here, if I compare 1 comma 5 with 2 comma 4, they will be overlapping and the resultant will be 1 comma 5 itself, right? Then I will compare 1 comma 5, which is basically the resultant of these two time intervals, with this particular time interval. So again they will be overlapping and the resultant would be 1 comma 6, right? That would be the resultant time interval. Now I will compare 1 comma 6 with 7 comma 8, and this time they are non-overlapping and hence I will not merge them. I will just keep 7 comma 8 as separate, and that's what I've done over here. And now finally I will come out of the for loop and return whatever I have got till now, right? And this will be my output. So this is the entire solution, right? Now talking about the time complexity. Now see, we have actually sorted this particular array. So for sorting, we will be having time complexity of n log n, right? So that will be order of n log n, and then we will have to iterate over this particular array. So that will be order of n, right? So overall time complexity will be order of n log n itself, right? And now talking about the space complexity, since we are not using any extra space over here, clearly the space complexity will be just order of 1, right? So the time complexity will be order of n log n and space complexity will be order of 1. So that's the entire solution. And now let's jump to the IDE to code this particular solution. All right, so now let's implement the solution that we just discussed. So first of all, let me just declare a function and call it as merge overlap, maybe like this, right? And this will accept an input array, And now what I need to do is, first of all, as we discussed, I need to sort this particular input array based on the starting time of each of the interval in this input array, right? So for doing that, what I can do is I can make use of the sorted function in Python, right? And this will take the input array itself as the first parameter, and in the second parameter, optionally, I can actually pass the uh, the key based on which I actually want to sort this particular input array, right? And in my case, it would be the first index of every element in this particular input array. And so maybe I can just use a lambda function over here, and I can just return the first index of every element, right? So that's what I'm saying over here, that sort this particular input array based on the first index of every element in this particular array, right? That's what I'm doing over here. And now what I will do is I will just declare a variable res which will hold the final output that I have to return, right? And over here in this particular array, I will just keep appending all the new mutually exclusive intervals that I am getting, right? So that's what I will just keep doing it in this particular array, right? And to start with, I will just initialize this particular array with the first time interval itself in this particular input array, right? So it will be array of 0. So I am just appending the first time interval over here in the resultant array just to start with. And now what I will do is I will iterate over rest of the time intervals in this particular input array starting from the first index. And then at every index, I will just compare whichever is the last element in this particular array. I will just compare that current element, right, with this particular resultant array's last time interval, and I will just check if they are overlapping or not. If they are overlapping, I will merge them into one and then just replace the last time interval of this particular resultant array with that resultant merged time interval. If they are not overlapping, I will just append that current time interval in this particular resultant array, so that this new time interval becomes the new last time interval in this particular resultant array, which can be now compared with the subsequent time interval, the next time interval, right? So now what I will do is I will just capture the length of this particular input array in variable n, right? And now what I will do is I will just run a for loop over this particular input array starting from index 1 going till n, right? And I will just keep checking if the last element which is currently present in my resultant array, that is given by res of -1, and the ending time of this particular time interval, which will be given by index 1, if this is lesser than the current time intervals starting time, which will be given by index 0, right? If that is the case, then I think I have done something wrong with the indentation over here. Let me quickly fix that. Okay, I have missed an in over here. That's what I was wondering. Okay, so now if this condition is true, then what I will do is I will just append this particular new time interval, the current time interval, in the resultant array simply, right? Because they are non-overlapping. The ending time of the first time interval is actually lesser than the starting time of the second interval, and hence they are non-overlapping, and hence I will just keep them as separate. Therefore, I'm just appending the current time interval in this resultant array at the end, right? And in case, if that is not the case, in the else part, what I have to do is I have to now merge these two time intervals. If they are overlapping, that is the ending time is actually greater than or equal to the starting time of the second time interval, then I have to actually merge these two intervals. And how do I merge them? I will just take the maximum, the minimum will be anyways, whatever is the starting time interval of the first time interval, because anyways we have sorted this particular input array initially itself based on the starting time. So of course the smaller time interval will be coming first. So like that will be the starting point anyways, the starting point of the first time interval. But for the ending time, I will have to take the maximum ending time among these two time intervals, whichever is the maximum ending time between these two time intervals, the first and two, that will be my ending time of the merge time interval, and that will be the full time interval range, right? So what I have to do is I have to keep the basically the starting time as same, and I just have to update the ending time, right, of this new time interval, right, of this merge time interval. So what I will do is I will just change the ending time of this particular time interval that I have at the end of the resultant array, the last time interval of the resultant array, I will just change the ending time of that to the maximum between the resultant, the last time interval of the, the ending time of the last time interval of the resultant array itself, right? Like this, and the current time interval's ending time, right? Like this. Whichever is the maximum, I will just reassign it to the ending time of the merged time interval, the resultant time interval, right? And now this is my resultant time interval, which I have to now compare with the next time interval, right, in the range. So then when I go to the next iteration, I will have a new time interval which I will end up comparing with this merged time interval now. And that's what I really have to do. If again they are overlapping, I will again make a resultant time interval after merging those two time intervals, right? If they are non-overlapping, I will just append that new time interval simply at the end of this particular resultant array, right? So that's what I will keep doing. And at the end of the day, once I come out of this for loop, I will just have the the list of all the time intervals which are mutually exclusive, and I can just return that, right? So at the end, after coming out of this for loop, I can return the resultant time interval array, right? The resultant array. So that's what I'm doing over here. This is the entire solution, a simple and sweet solution to this. I hope you liked it. Now maybe we can just quickly test it. So for testing, let me just use the same test case that we had earlier. So it was, I think, 7,8 and 1,5, 2,4 and 4,6, right? This was the input array, right, in that test case. And now what I will do is I will just run this merge overlap function over this particular input array, right? And let's see if we get the correct answer or not. Okay, let me run it again. Okay, I think I did some mistake over here. So it should be array of I of 1, right? Now if I run this, I get 1,6 and 7,8, and that's actually the output that we saw in the explanation part as well. So these three time intervals will get merged into one, and the resultant time interval will end up being 1,6, right? And this one will not get merged because it is non-overlapping with any other time interval over here. So this will remain as separate, and hence my output will be 1,6 and 7,8, right? So that is the correct output. And I hope you understood this particular solution well. Again, talking about the time complexity, it will be order of n log n, and the space complexity will be order of 1, right? So that's it for this particular question, and now I will see you in the next one. Thank you.